Good morning to one and all. Good morning to one and all. I am Dr. M. Umasankar, lecturer in botany, SVSSC Government Degree College, Sulurpeta, Tirupati Jilla. Today, we are going to discuss about the conservation of biodiversity. So, what is the meaning of biodiversity? In this presentation, we are going to discuss about the meaning and definition of biodiversity and what is the importance of biodiversity and what are the threats to biodiversity and what are the conservative methods of biodiversity. So, biodiversity, as we know, bio means life and diversity means variety. So, biodiversity is defined as the variety and variability among all groups of living organisms and the ecosystems in which they occur. So, what is the importance and what is the need for conservation of biodiversity? Biodiversity is essential as it maintains the ecological balance of our planet. And without biodiversity, there will be no life and almost all the species will extinct. Now, what are the reasons for the loss or the depletion of biodiversity? The biodiversity today is threatened by several human activities such as deforestation, burning of fossil fuels, climate change, fragmentation of habitat, poaching, and introduction of exotic species. So, there is a dire need to spread awareness to let people know the dire consequences of biodiversity loss. So, what are the conservative methods of biodiversity? So, what is meant by the conservation? The conservation of biodiversity is protection, upliftment, and scientific management of biodiversity so as to maintain it at its threshold level and derive sustainable benefits for the present and future generations. Here, in the conservation of biodiversity, there are two approaches. The first one is in situ conservation method and the second one is ex situ conservation method. So this diagram shows the overall conservation methods of biodiversity. What is meant by in situ conservation? In situ conservation is a method of conserving all the living species, especially the wild and endangered species in their natural habitats such as national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, and sacred groves. So, what is meant by national park? National park is an area that is strictly reserved for the betterment of the wildlife and biodiversity and where the activities like developmental, forestry, poaching, grazing and cultivation are not permitted. In national parks, even private ownership rights are not allowed. The emphasis is on the preservation of a single flora or a single fauna species. In India, there are 106 existing national parks covering an area of 44,402 square kilometers. And the largest national park in India is Hemis National Park, which is located in Jammu and Kashmir. And the smallest national park in India is South Button Island National Park, which is located in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Now, what are wildlife sanctuaries? The area in which the birds and animals are protected and are kept safely in their natural habitats, protecting them from the poaching and trafficking. In India, there are about 543 wildlife sanctuaries which cover a total area of 1,18,918 square kilometers. And some important wildlife sanctuaries in India are Badra Wildlife Sanctuary in Karnataka, Gir Wildlife Sanctuary in Gujarat, Shanchal Wildlife Sanctuary located in Darjeeling. What is meant by biosphere reserves? A biosphere reserve is a location designated by the government under UNESCO's Man and the Biosphere program to encourage sustainable development and the conservation of animals, plants and ecosystems. The government of India established 18 biosphere reserves to protect its natural habitats. Few examples of biosphere reserves are Gulf of Mannar, located in Tamil Nadu, Sundarbans, located in West Bengal, Nilgiri, located in Tamil Nadu, and Seshachalam Hills, present in Andhra Pradesh. Sacred groves. So, what are meant by sacred groves? Sacred groves are areas of natural vegetation that are considered sacred by a particular culture. They are often found near temples or other religious sites. In India, there are about 713 sacred groves identified in Eastern Ghats districts of Andhra Pradesh. Few example. One of the good example of sacred grove is Peninsula Narsimha Sacred Grove, which is located in SPSR Nellore district. And the second method of conservation of biodiversity is the ex situ conservation method. So what's meant by ex situ conservation? When the conservation is done in an artificial ecosystem that is man-made, like zoological parks, botanical gardens, gene banks and cryopreservation. What are gene banks or the seed banks? Gene banks are a type of biorepository which preserve genetic material. A collection of seed plants, tissue cultures from potentially useful species, especially species containing genes of significance to the breeding of crops. Plant genetic material in a gene bank is preserved at minus 196 degrees Celsius in liquid nitrogen as matured seed or tissue, and this technique is called as cryopreservation. Now, what are botanical gardens? A botanical garden is an institution that has a documented collection of living plants used for scientific research, conservation, education and display. The botanical gardens serve as places for recreation and aesthetic beauty. A few botanical gardens in India, uh, famous botanical gardens in the world and India are Royal Botanical Garden located in Kew, England, Indian Botanical Garden located in Howrah, Lal Bagh Botanical Garden located in Bengaluru, and National Botanical Garden located in Lucknow. Now I have given a list of few questions related to this topic, the conservation of biodiversity. Thank you.